Hi YouTube, this is DacePapa8989 over here, bringing you my latest Yu-Gi-Oh deck profile update. What I'm bringing you today is a deck which I first tried out when I first got back into the game 2 years ago, and I hesitated making it since it was way too expensive 2 years ago, but now it's much more affordable. So in case any of you can't guess what was an expensive deck 2 years ago was. What I'm showing you today is Lightsworns. So, without further ado, let me show you my build. First up, 2 Judgment Dragons. Common sense to run 2 of these. These are your boss monsters of the deck. Pay cheap 1,000 life points. You get to blow up the field and get a free 3,000 hit towards your opponent. Really good card. Have to run 2. Next up is 2 Celestias, Lightsworn Angel, basically tribute a Lightsworn monster, and then mill top 4 to pop 2 cards on the field. Really good card. I'm trying out 2 of these, and 2 of them is working really nicely for right now. Next up is 2 Wolves. Basically, these are your pre-Cyber Dragons of the deck when it gets milled from the deck to the graveyard. And I'm running 2 just to avoid dead hands or dead draws with 3. And 2 seems to be working out just nicely. And I'm probably going to up the count to 3 once we get Photon lead, which basically can special summon a level 4 light monster from your hand and will no longer make this a dead card. So for now, until then, 2 is good. Next up is 2 Lilas, Lightstone Sorceress, basically back row destruction card. Really good card, forces your opponent to waste one of their back rows to kill her, unless they want to lose something important. Next up is 2 Rykos, basically free monster destruction, and that's pretty much it. Most people run 3, but I run 2 because of another monster which I run, which you guys will see shortly. Next up is Tragodia and Gores. Basically, these are basically your backup monsters, just in case your opponent clears your field, and basically you can drop these to turn the duel in your favor. Tragodia is good, whereas you can adjust its level for a synchro summon, or ditch a monster to take control of one of your opponent's monsters. And Gores is just there because I love Gores, and he can turn the tide of the duel around in your favor in an instant, and that's pretty much it. So running both of these has worked out really nicely. Next up is Chaos Sorcerer. I run 1. I'm kind of running a semi-pure version, not a complete Twilight build right now, but 1 Chaos Sorcerer works just fine. Since I run quite a number of dark monsters, I thought I might as well toss 1 in as a tech choice. Next up is Gorath, Lightstone Warrior. Basically, he adds a little bit of draw power to the deck whenever he's face up in the field and you mill cards from your deck. Common sense to run this guy. Next up is Jane. Gains 300 attack points when it attacks a monster, so helps you get over those pesky Thunder Kings, Neos Aliases, and Kamikaze into Cyber Dragon. So really good card. Next up is Aaron, Lightsworn Monk. A lot of people underestimate the power of this card, but I really love it. Basically, when it attacks a monster, it basically bounces it has to attack a defense one monster, and it bounces it back to the opponent's deck, and that's pretty much it. And a lot of people underestimate it, but it's a really good card, and a couple of other cards which I run maximizes her effect and utilizes her very nicely. Next up is Lumina. Common sense to run it, no questions asked. If we could run 3 again, I would definitely run 3. Honest, common sense. Next up is Super Nimble Mega Hamster. This is my tech choice when I'm running over Raikou. Basically, it allows me to search out my Raikous and also basically set up for a Celestia play, which I like. So, really good card. And if it's not working, I can always side it out for something else. Next up is Necrogarna. Common sense to run it. When it's milled, you can remove it to negate an attack. Card Trooper. Speed up the milling. Good card. A lot of people run 2, but I prefer 1 since it's a little bit slow, but 1 just works just fine. Next up is Plague Spreader. Good tuner to run in the deck. Common sense to do it. Global. Common sense to run it if you can afford it. And lastly, Effect Veiler. Another tech choice which I run. Really helpful, especially with disrupting your opponent's plays, and which is really important nowadays. Next up are the draw power. Next up are the spells, in which the first 3 cards are 3 solar recharges. These are the draw power of the deck. Have to run 3, no questions asked. Next up is enemy controller. I run 2 of these to maximize Aaron's effect, and also because of my trap lineup, and I find it useful that I can actually tribute, like, my dead Lightsworns or a dead Necrogarna Wolf, or not Wolf, but Plague Spreader or Blow Up Bulb, and take control of one opponent's monsters. So, really good card, and I'm really liking this card. It's really underrated nowadays. Charge the Light Brigade, Rhoda for the deck, common sense to run it. Next up are the staples: Giant Trunade, Monster Reborn, Dark Hole, Book of Moon, and MST. I run 1 MST just because back row is always very deadly to Lightsworns, and and MST is always good. It's never a bad card. So I actually slide into my second one if the situation calls for it. So really good card to run. Next up is Monster Reincarnation. Recycle your monsters that you mill that you want to use again. And last but not least, Foolish Burial. Basically, free summon a wolf for a Celestial play, or dump your Plague Spreader, Necrogarna, or Glow Up Bulb in the graveyard to set up for a Synchro summon. So, really good card. And last are the traps. First up, I run 3 Royal Decrees. A lot of people just run 1 trap card in the deck, or 1 trap card or no traps at all, and that's usually Treacherous Trap Hole. But I find that Lightsworn's biggest weakness is basically their monsters not being able to get their summons off, and always falling prey to your opponent's back row, which Royal Decree locks out your opponent's nearly at least a good portion of your opponent's deck, and allows you to get your plays off, allows you to blow up the field without any fear of a solemn warning or anything, and push for game as well. So really important card to run, and I'm loving it. And if Royal Decree is not working against a deck such as Frognox, I can always side them out for something else that works better. And last but not least is 2 Beckoning Lights. A lot of people say that these would be dead with Royal Decrees, but but you have to utilize these properly, and which I never find these to be dead. So that's it for the monsters. Next up is the extra deck. First up is number 39, Utopia. I'm trying out this new one, see how it works. I've tested it a couple of times, and it so far is decent. So definitely worth running if you have the room for it. Next up is Chimera Type Fortress Dragon. I'm side Cyber Dragon, so obviously I would main this to use against Karakuris, gadgets, and any other deck that uses machines. Trishula, common sense to run it. Stardust Dragon, always good to run. Red Dragon, definitely good to run, especially to run over Wall of Defense monsters. Scrap Dragon, Colossal Fighter, Scrap Archfiend, Black Rose Dragon, Ancient Fairy Dragon, Gaia Knight, Iron Chain Dragon, Bryanak, Flammable Urquizas, and last but not least, Allied Justice Catastor. So that's my build, YouTube. Go ahead and comment, rate, subscribe. I appreciate some thought on the build, and peace out.